Tosin Fikile happening at this moment. Council about to hold a press conference outside the Wilson building. It's the latest on the bill that would allow the Washington Commanders to return to play at RFK Stadium. This has been quite a contention point in the DMV, even Congress getting involved. We can see Council Chairman there, Phil Mendelson, getting ready to speak. If you remember, Council has been waiting to they've been waiting for Council to put up a deal or come to some agreement on this deal about the Commanders.
Good morning. Sorry that we're starting a little bit late. I was meeting with Council members and briefing them on the situation. So I'm pleased to announce that in discussions that I've had with the Washington Commanders with regard to the proposal for a new stadium, that we've reached an agreement on general terms, primarily with regard to the finances. I'm happy to go through all that. I think that Lindsay had circulated materials earlier to members of the press, so you probably have already seen roughly what the situation is. The Commanders, as you know, have thought it's really important that the council get to a vote by the end of the month. Actually, the mayor had negotiated, as I think you know, July 15th, which simply wasn't going to work because we had the budget. And in fact, we're still not done with the budget. We'll be voting on Monday. The Commanders' sense of our need for urgency actually worked to our benefit, because what we said to the Commanders was that if you really want an earlier date, then we want to see some changes that make the deal better for citizens of the district. And that's the material that has been released, and I'm pleased to say that with regard to revenues, that we will see significant revenues coming to the district's general fund, and some other benefit to the city. So just as a reminder, when the deal was announced between the mayor and the Commanders, what was proposed was a $500 million subsidy for construction, toward the construction of the stadium, plus another $356 million for the construction of 2 parking garages. I want to emphasize that those dollars, which are unchanged in where we are today, are the upside of what the district provides. It's the downside, upside, all sides. That is to say that the city's not on the hook if the cost for the stadium is greater than what the team thinks, and the city's not on the hook if the cost of constructing the garages is greater than what we're providing. So that's an $856 million subsidy. In addition, what was worked out between the mayor and the team was that there would be a significant number of tax abatements or tax avoidance. When I say avoidance, I'm talking about no parking tax, which is 18%, and then tax abatements on sales taxes, the different sales taxes. Which is to say that the city would be borrowing and providing $856 million, and there would be no revenue stream to the general fund in return. What we have negotiated is quite different, depending upon whose numbers you look at. It's I want to say, a benefit to the city in terms of revenues that could be as much as $949 million. I'll repeat, that's $949 million over the term of the lease. So there will be parking taxes that will go to the general fund. The sales taxes on general merchandise will go to the general fund. Sales taxes on food and beverage will go to the general fund. The team will retain the ticket taxes, and the ticket taxes will go into the maintenance fund that they want, and that's important for maintaining the facility in a state of good repair for the life of the lease. So that's with regard to the revenues. Where we are, and this was less negotiated with the Commanders and more what the council's been able to do with the the mayor's proposal is we've made some internal changes. When I say internal, I mean with regard to how we're structuring the financing so that we will not be capitalizing interest for 2 years, which had been in the mayor's proposal, and that should save district taxpayers approximately $55 million. And in addition, we will be redirecting some of the revenue from what's going to be called the sports facilities fee, currently known as the ballpark fee. The mayor proposed continuing that. We're keeping that as she proposed, but redirecting roughly $600 million over the lease term to a transportation improvement fund to deal with concerns that we have about the capacity of the existing Metro Rail station and the possibility that a new additional station would have to be built. So that's about $600 million we're setting aside for transportation improvements. And the restructuring of the financing will save taxpayers about $55 million. In addition, the term sheet that the mayor had negotiated with the commanders spoke of a community benefits fund or community benefits agreement, but without a dollar amount affixed to that. And the commanders have agreed that they will provide $50 million, $50 million for a community benefits agreement. And those uses will be, for example, youth sports linked to education. I think some subsidy the team will provide to attract a grocery store, some job training, benefits, community benefits such as that. So when I talk about as much as $949 million, I'm talking about the, let me see, I'm going to have to do some math here, roughly $874 million. This is using some figures from the team in revenues, tax revenues, as well as the community benefits fund, as well as the $55 million we're saving and how we're restructuring the financing on the part of the district. There's more to come, and what I mean by that is that the council, I've agreed to, that the council will meet on August 1st to adopt the legislation. That will be our first vote on it. And we're going to work off the bill that I introduced a couple of weeks ago, which I believe is Bill 26-288. There will have to be substantial revisions to that legislation. So if you look up that bill now, it will reflect what the mayor had submitted, but not yet the changes. All that is going to have to be drafted over the next several days, and we will make available as soon as possible. Subsequent to that, there will be a negotiation between the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, DEMPED, and the team to work out the details of what's called a Development Financing Agreement, or DFA, which will go into more detail. So do not expect a fine-grained level of detail in the legislation. A lot of that will be in the DFA and then subsequently in the leases that will be negotiated. So there's still a lot that has to be worked out in terms of legal documents, but the basic framework, we know what that is, and that will be before the council on August 1st for a first vote. Somebody's going to probably ask when the second vote is. That's scheduled right now for September 17th. Let me just see if there's anything else I want to add. I appreciate that several colleagues are here. Councilmember McDuffie, who joined me in the negotiations, Councilmember Pinto, and Councilmember Felder. And I'm confident that we will have the necessary votes on August 1st. So let me see if there are any questions. And if you have questions for any of my colleagues, please say so. Yes, sir.
Councilmember Tom Fitzgerald from Channel 5. Good morning. The mayor yesterday said, sorry about that. The mayor yesterday had said that she understands that the council needs to do its due diligence, however, said she was not happy with what she described as delay for delay's sake. Is your agreement that you're announcing this morning significantly different than what the mayor worked out with the team, or was this delay for delay's sake?
Oh, I think $950 million is significantly different. I mean, I could point to some other aspects of this that there, because I didn't mention this, there will be how do I want to put this, some clawback if development timelines aren't met. I didn't mention that. I think the Transportation Improvement Fund is significantly an improvement. I think the restructuring of the financing by the council is an important improvement. You know, when I talk about $950 million as the upside of what the revenue benefit will be to the city, the $55 million in near-term savings on the financing looks small, but I'll tell you, if I had $55 million to offer anybody here, I think everybody would raise their hands and say that was significant. So I think, the important thing is that August 1st, we will have a vote.
If I could just follow, you had told us that the reason that the stadium deal was taken out of the budget was you needed more time and it did not fit in with your calendar, having received the budget late. August 1st and September 17th are kind of in the same wheelhouse. Did it make that much of a difference?
Totally. I'm sorry, but just totally did. There's no way that we could have negotiated this or legislated this by July 14th, which was our first vote, or even by July 28th, which was our second vote.
Thank you.
So I think we've gotten past the time thing. Yes, sir.
Chairman, and I know you might got past the time thing, but I'm only asking because I think there was a perception that we were waiting on the 2 additional studies that have not been released yet, and then the hearings. And I think yesterday, speaking to people, they were under the assumption that these hearings, their points of view and their input would be taken into consideration before a deal. And then, it's announced today that we have a tentative deal. I think they were a little bit kind of taken aback. What do you tell those people that 400 plus people have signed up, they're going to be ready to testify, and they're like, well, it seems like it's a done deal, and now I'm just waiting to say something to the council when they've already kind of have an agreement?
Well, I think it's important that we still hear from the public. I expect that a lot of the testimony is going to be very simple. We think it's great the commanders are coming back, and we want you to vote yes. I think we're going to hear a lot of that, and I think we will also hear from some folks that they think that any kind of subsidy is unacceptable to them. It's important that folks have the opportunity to express those views. Where we are is, I think, much more nuanced and much more beneficial to this city. With regard to the reports, so the report by Robert Bob is available on the council's website. The economic impact analysis, which was done by the council's budget office, I believe will be posted later today. And the tax abatement financial analysis, we're expecting this week, although this week is, I'm told it's being issued today. So bingo, the reports are here.
And the second one.
And I'll note the reports are here after July 15th.
And second one, just on the changes to the taxes, including parking. A lot of people saying that this is going to fall on fans now, the modifications. Your response to and coming also from the executive's office, that this might incur on higher prices for parking for fans.
Absolutely not. Now, I don't really want to speak to what the economics are around ticket prices, but there would have been, will have been. There's never been any thought that there wouldn't be a sales tax on food and beverage. We're not changing that. It's just who gets it. Or a sales tax on general merchandise. Always would have been, will be. We're not changing that. We're not increasing that. The parking tax is pretty standard. And the ticket tax, which the city is not getting, the team will have for maintenance of the stadium, that's not new and different. So if you look at the Nationals ballpark, 10.25% ticket tax. Look at the Monumental Sports, 10.25% ticket tax. Look at the Commanders Stadium at RFK, 2.25% ticket tax. So we're not contemplating, there's nothing in here that would put pressure on higher fees or ticket prices for fans. Next. Sam.
I have 2 questions, one for you, Chairman, and one for Councilmember Felder. So just clarifying, if you can clarify for us the turning point in the negotiations. Like, at what point did the commanders at what point did they feel comfortable going the extra mile as far as seeding the tax revenue? Was it like last week? Was it 2 weeks? Was it before July 15th? You know, if you can just.
Well, I'm not going to get too much into the negotiations. I have said consistently, and it's been true, the commanders have been very positive, constructive in our negotiations. I have no complaint. We asked for information, they shared it quickly, shared it quickly. I would say that it's in the last 10 days that discussions came into focus. And actually, if you think about it, 10 days ago is right after our first vote on the budget, when we were able to devote more time to this. And you had a question for Councilmember Felder?
I did. So that $50 million, how does that in any way affect your vision for the community benefits agreement? Because, you know, data was gathered from community meetings, and at that time there wasn't a figure, but now that there's a tangible figure, how does that look as far as your intended or desired implementation?
Good question. Based on the information that we gathered within the community benefits agreement, it was pretty consistent. We heard that neighbors wanted to see more opportunities around jobs, workforce development, opportunities for small and local businesses, the need to tackle transportation issues, environmental issues. The themes have been really consistent. To answer your question specifically, now that we have a dollar figure, that just allows us to think about how we want to disperse the resources adequately across the ward.
Any priorities out of like that? I know it was a long document, but anything that you would, if you could prioritize, like your top two?
Creating opportunities for small and local businesses, more jobs, workforce development opportunities. Those are the things that come top of mind. Yeah.
I appreciate the question and appreciate all the work that Councilmember Felder has been doing, but I also, it makes me think about an earlier question about the community meetings and the hearings. The hearings next week are extraordinarily important, and we look forward to hearing from everybody who signed up to testify. But it wasn't the first, this isn't the first opportunity for folks to weigh in on this process. We have gotten a number of emails, phone calls, outreach from social media, from residents across the District of Columbia, both raising concerns and urging us to act. And so I wanted to mention that because I've been a part of a number of meetings that have taken place in the community, hearing from residents across the district, hearing from residents in Ward 7, along with Councilmember Felder, Deputy Mayor for Economic Development, Nina Albert. In some cases, I've been in meetings with the mayor to hear directly about what people would like to see and what they don't want to see. And so the next week's hearings are an extraordinarily important process in the council's business, but it is not the first opportunity that we've had to hear directly from residents about what they'd like to see, like a robust community benefits agreement, which is why you see the number that's associated there. And in terms of some of the things that people have prioritized, they love football. They love cheering for the Commanders. They want to see another winning season. Perhaps they want to see us go to the NFC Championship again, maybe a Super Bowl. But they also want to see youth engage in a way that they haven't before, right? They want to see youth playing football, but perhaps they want to see the girls playing flag football. They want to see youth playing sports, but they want to see youth being educated about the business of sports. And those are some of the things that we have heard from residents that are reflected in the conversations that we've had with the team, that they're excited about making sure that they incorporate in the work that they're doing, and also the community benefits that accrue across the District of Columbia.
Thanks, Martin.
Let's start on, well, what you said in your in the press release. You referenced the fact that there was a lot of outside pressure. I mean, members of Congress, the president, the mayor has kind of consistently been pestering you guys about moving on this as quickly as humanly possible. But up until a few weeks ago, you were somewhat resistant, I'd say defiant to any of that pressure, saying, listen, we need our time, we need to scrutinize the deal. You were saying you were going to wait till September. What was it exactly that changed your thinking on that? Was it a specific thing that someone said? Was it James Comer? Was it the president? Like, just walk us through how you went from September all the way to August 1st in a span of a couple weeks.
I'm not sure how much I want to get into all the negotiations. I think also that sometimes these things are more intuitive than they are something that explicitly and precisely can be pointed to. It was very important to the team that the council vote this month. Next Friday is, in a sense, this month. And they were willing to improve the deal, I think substantially, in return for that earlier vote on our part. I can assure you that I pressed and pressed for different dates and later dates, and came to the conclusion that the benefit from later time would have been less of a benefit in terms of where we are.
All right, and then just quickly to what was one component that is not addressed in the changes you made, but was in the Bob report, was concerns about cost overruns. I mean, also knowing the fact that, and he also mentioned environmental concerns about once you start digging, once the city starts digging on this horizontal construction, they don't really know what they're going to be finding. So cost overruns, potentially likely. Are there any protections at all for the cost overruns, or is the city just going to eat anything above that 500 million just for the site preparation?
I think it's accurate to say that any cost overruns are the responsibility of the team.
But is that written down somewhere?
Well, I think you'll see it at the moment in the term sheet. It probably will be in the legislation, which, as I have said already, is not in, it's not really in draft form yet.
But they'll clarify horizontal and vertical, because they could say, well, listen, we said cost overruns on the stadium, not on preparing the land for the
Yeah.
stadium.
I think
you.
we have it covered. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Felicia Ashley, ABC 7. The Office of the Chief Financial Officer just released their letter that they sent to you all as well as the mayor. And they said that the tax exemptions proposed in the bill are not financially necessary for the team to continue to operate as a business entity. And that based on the impact and the stadium and parking, essentially they didn't need all the tax exemptions. What is your take on that? And was that ever reevaluated in the updates of the financing proposed?
The conclusion, it's called a TAFA, Tax Abatement Financial Analysis.
Right.
The conclusion of the TAFA is not a surprise. Stadiums are typically built by very wealthy entities, and there's a lot of money involved in it. And if the analysis, which is the TAFA analysis, but for the abatements, the stadium will not be built. I think it's clear that financially, that makes sense. So it's not a surprise. On the other hand, I would say that what is before us is about incentives, an incentive to have a football stadium at the RFK site where there's been a football stadium for decades, and to have the Commanders in the district, which I think it's pretty clear a whole lot of people really want. So those are benefits from the incentives. And then I would add that some of the analysis is looking at the abatements as proposed by the mayor. But as I noted, the abatement on parking taxes is eliminated. The abatement on the sales taxes on general merchandise is eliminated. The abatement on the sales tax on food and beverages is eliminated. I would argue that the tax on tickets that the team will get for maintenance is completely legitimate. I don't look at that as an abatement. I mean, this is just my view. I look at that as ensuring that there are the resources to ensure that the stadium is maintained in a state of good repair. You know, right now we're going through with the Washington Nationals that stadium, which is 20 years old, 18 years old, I think it's 18 years old, needs hundreds of millions of dollars to be refurbished so that it continues to be bright and shiny and state of the art.